Very few games give you a feeling of exhilaration, fulfillment, adventure, and wonder all at the same time. Depending on the action in the gameplay and the accompanying soundtrack, the player's overall experience will cement the game either as amazing and fun, or boring and bland in their mind. Super Mario Galaxy is one of the games that made me feel the former. How does the sequel perform? Let's talk about it. Super Mario Galaxy 2 is the follow-up to the hugely successful first installment. The game was developed because Nintendo had dozens of ideas they wanted to explore and experiment with. As a result, this game contains many dynamic new levels, fresh power-ups, and even the ability to ride Yoshi, who has unique abilities of his own. In addition, the musical soundtrack builds upon the first game, continuing along the orchestral vein to bring out the cinematic and space-like feel. Let's take a look at some of these gems and see what makes them work. In addition to the overture we just heard, this theme called Another Story is borrowed from Super Mario Galaxy 1. This piece combines the Star Festival music as well as the opening theme from Gusty Garden Galaxy, which is a theme that appears throughout the game. The main difference is that this piece is in F major compared to the Star Festival theme being in E major from the first game. The recording quality of the entire soundtrack in general is also slightly better compared to the first installment. I think that these two factors really contribute a slightly more uplifting and magical feeling to the game right from the onset. In regards to the composition itself, the melody strikes a perfect balance between repetition and variety, allowing the listener to establish the motive easily while repeating it as an answer to bring a resolution. Orchestration-wise, the violins are doubled with the oboe for a thicker texture, while the other string sections play an active harmonic pattern with pizzicato interspersed for a lighter touch. The piece is short and sweet, encouraging the player to move on to greater things ahead. If you're looking for a piece of music that will make the most mundane tasks seem exciting, like washing the dishes, vacuuming the house, or doing your homework, Sky Station Galaxy's music will absolutely do that for you. Like many of the pieces in Super Mario Galaxy 1, this one starts off with a flat 6, flat 7 to 1 chord progression that establishes an adventurous feeling by using the chords of the parallel minor. In this case, the chords are C flat major, D flat major to E flat major. The rest of the intro then alternates between the flat 6 and flat 7 chords, essentially matching the intro of Gusty Garden Galaxy. The main theme is declamatory, very anthemic, and gives you the chills. It takes the form of an extended period of 16 bars, with the first 8 asking a question and the other 8 answering it by landing on a stable chord tone of B flat. The chord progression is immediately colorful by starting on the 1 chord, going to the minor 4 or A flat minor, then back to 1. This is a minor plagal cadence or minor 4 to 1, and is a nice alternative to the major 4. Following this, the bass line steps up to G, outlining the 1 chord in first inversion, before descending to F sharp for a diminished 7th chord, then to F, B flat, and finally E flat for the classic 2-5-1. The answer phrase begins the same as the question above but quickly detours in favor of an ascending melody in perfect fifths. Accordingly, the harmony rises as well, going from F minor 7 to G minor 7, A flat minor 7, B flat minor 7, and finally to E flat. Again, using the chords from the parallel minor here grounds the piece a little bit, rather than being happy-go-lucky all the time by using diatonic chords throughout. The following bridge is the sole reason why the oboe is my go-to woodwind instrument for sweet, melancholic melodies. First, let's address the chord progression, which is as follows. A flat major, A flat diminished 7, G minor 7, F sharp diminished 7, F minor 7, B flat dominant 7, and E flat major. It's effective in multiple ways. The bass line descends chromatically from A flat down to F or from 4 down to 2 before going to a perfect cadence. Also, the transition from the major 4 to the minor 4 before resolving to the 3 chord extends the 4 chord just that little bit longer for extra flavor. Meanwhile, the melody perfectly combines stepwise motion with larger leaps of fifths and sixths, making those wider intervals more meaningful and emotional. The flute then joins in with the oboe in response up an octave, emphasizing the sweetness of the melody. The violins then join in as a choir with the rest of the orchestra, along with a nice timpani roll to bring the entire piece back to the beginning through a perfect cadence. Similar to Good Egg Galaxy from the first game, this piece establishes the adventurous and heroic nature of the game through a strong melody, smooth chord progression, and colorful orchestration. Like Rosalina's Observatory in the first game, Starship Mario is Galaxy 2's version of the world exploration system. Accordingly, the soundtrack also has 3 versions, each adding more instrumentation depending on your completion of the game. For this video, let's discuss the third. Rooted in the key of F major, this piece is very easygoing and lighthearted, using diatonic chords and traditional chord progressions. The intro features the strings descending in thirds following a 1, 2, 3, 2, 1 chord progression. The piece then establishes a somewhat military feel with a consistent snare drum pattern and the violin, woodwind, and brass melody layered in unison. The melody features liberal use of 16th notes, maintaining the straight feel of the piece and once again making the music feel predictable. In the bridge, the chord progression opens with a plagal cadence or B flat to F, while the melody rises in contrast with a descending melody in the opening theme. After one more statement of the main theme, the bridge is then repeated in the trombone for a slightly raspier and more colorful tone before the strings come in to round it off and lead us back to the top. While I personally prefer the waltzy theme of Rosalina's Observatory to this piece, it still presents a memorable melody that stays consistent with the uplifting tone of the game so far. We all love a strong anthemic theme, and the Starship Sails is one of those gems. It's quite similar to the Sky Station Galaxy theme, but takes a slightly more military and emphatic approach with its blaring trumpets, string response, and consistent snare drum pattern. Have a listen. bridge starts off on the 4 chord or A flat major, going to the 5 or B flat, then to the flat 6 or C flat before going back down to the 5. This starts off a chain reaction of descending chords: A flat minor, F minor 7, F sharp 7 over E, A flat, B flat to E flat. The final theme emphasizes the tonic and dominant notes of the scale, while the harmony explores the flat 7 chord of D flat major, giving us a Mixolydian sound. Finally, we rise back to the top with a rousing melody and harmonic progression moving together. Puzzle Plank Galaxy is one of those feel-good pieces but features a country-flavored fiddle and a hooky bass line. Like many of the other melodies in the soundtrack, it's centered around the tonic chord, bouncing back and forth for an active and exciting feeling. The harmony holds a D major pedal with a guitar strumming D chords on the offbeats. The bridge then changes things up, with a synth performing the main theme but the chord progression being B minor, G major, A major, B minor, G major, A major, D major. The addition of the 6, 4, and 5 chords opens the door to more musical interest, but really the main focus is still around the tonic chord of D major. Again, a very simple piece, but very catchy and singable. Every solid soundtrack has its recurring themes, and for the Wild Glide and Freezy Flake galaxies, they borrow directly from Sky Station Galaxy. However, the instrumentation is what really separates them, making them equally suitable for their respective galaxies. For the Wild Glide Galaxy, a piccolo-led melody accompanied by harp, strumming guitar, and light percussion evokes the feeling of the free wilderness and beauty of nature. On the other hand, the Freezy Flake Galaxy features a piano accordion taking the melody, while light ping-pong keyboard chords, tambourine, sleigh bells, and shakers create the ambience of winter. These two versions of the Sky Station theme demonstrate the importance of instrumentation choice in determining the feeling and setting of the galaxy. Going back to the symphonic side of things, the music of Cloudy Chord Galaxy is similar to Gusty Garden Galaxy, but with more exploration in the melody and slightly more unconventional chord choices. Rooted in the key of F major, this piece starts in our classic flat 6, flat 7 to 1 chord progression, or D flat major, E flat major to F major. Following this, the melody begins with a leap of an octave from C to C, symbolizing how Mario will leap into the clouds in this galaxy, before making its way back down to the original C. The repetition of this melody begins on D this time, accompanied by a G major chord or the major 2 chord, which gives us a Lydian feeling, before going back to the minor 2, then a classic 2-5-1 in G minor. I really enjoy this opening as the lightness of the woodwind melody transitions to the beefier brass before opening up into the strings when the entire phrase repeats. In the bridge, we have a predictably lighter section in which the flute plays the melody and is accompanied by a lovely progression of E flat major 7, F7 over E flat, B flat 2 over D, B flat minor over D flat, A flat over C, A flat minor over C flat, B flat sus4, C sus4, C7, and finally back to F. We've heard this device of the chromatically descending bass line before, but it really never gets old. The chorus of this piece features the brass and strings playing the theme together with perfect counterpoint and moving lines throughout, allowing the piece to flow naturally. And of course, the progression ascends at the end instead of descending because this is the Cloudy Chord Galaxy. The music of Throwback Galaxy is literally a nostalgic throwback. Taking the theme from Super Mario 64, the revamped version of this classic features a swinging big band, a funky rhythm section, and the catchiest call and response moments you'll ever hear. It's also in the key of D major compared to the original being in C major. This key choice adds color and flavor to the piece. Starting off with the intro, there's nothing quite like trumpets, trombones, and electric bass playing in octaves, followed by saxes taking over the melody. The arrangement here is quite simple to start off with, featuring the drums, strummed electric guitar, claps, and shakers. Interestingly, the guitar is panned hard left and the shakers hard right, giving us that stereo spread without being overwhelmingly LCR. The repetition of this theme sees the trumpets and trombones inserting themselves into the melodic holes, performing gorgeous falls and swells, giving the piece character and life. bridge sees the horns coming together in full chords, followed by octave playing for more emphasis on the melody. This music swings just the way you want. I don't know what else to say. It's so good. As we near the end of the game, the energy and tension builds. We've reached Bowser's castle and have to make our way through all of his obstacles to save Princess Peach. Interestingly, the music itself takes us through an emotional journey with beautiful chord changes and lush orchestration for a cinematic touch. Set in E minor, the strings and woodwinds play a tucking pattern in the intro before the main theme comes in, spanning over an octave. The repetition of this melody sees the strings soaring up even higher to match the more frequent chord changes. This really gives us an emotional and passionate feeling as Mario is making his way through each challenge. A solo trumpet calls out in the bridge, almost as if Mario was calling out for help. Another trumpet joins in for harmony before the trumpet section performs an exciting fanfare with the strings accompanying with ostinati underneath. The harmony then takes a turn from E minor, going to G minor 7, then to B major over F. This chord especially feels jarring and dissonant, with the F in the bass clashing with the F sharp within the B major chord. Following a repetition of the theme and progression, the entire piece opens up to a full descending D major, C major, B minor 7, B flat major 7 to A sus4 progression that leads us back to the beginning. Meanwhile, the string melody is rhythmically sound and structured, providing a heroic and brave tone to the music. As you can hear, the variety of instrumentation and compositional choices really reflect the journey that Mario has been through up to this point. After Mario defeats the almighty Bowser, we're presented with the ending credits to the game. There's no option to skip the credits, and luckily so, or we'd be robbed of an orchestral masterpiece. This medley contains 3 of the franchise's most iconic scores: Sky Station, Starship Sails, and Gusty Garden. Accordingly, we experience a few modulations that really take us from one section of the medley to another, and they're done seamlessly. We begin in the key of G with a classic violin ostinato and a French horn melody leading the way, before the rest of the orchestra comes in and finishes the intro. The The oboe comes in, performing the plaintive melody of Sky Station, while the violins and violas play runs and gorgeous textures, and the double basses add pizzicatos for lightness. In the following bridge, the piccolo takes over while the strings play a lovely rhythm and horns play counter melody to the lead. We then modulate to A major where Sky Station is repeated, but this time in the strings for fuller texture. The bridge features the brass interacting with each other instead of the woodwinds, which then grows into the starship sails in G major. The bridge from Sky Station reappears in the oboe, milking it for all it's worth before a gorgeous ascending chord progression takes us from C minor, D minor, E flat minor, F minor, E flat minor over G flat, A flat major to B flat major before dropping down to G7 and resolving to C major, where the Gusty Garden theme plays in all its glory and takes us into the finish. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch this analysis video. I sincerely hope you've enjoyed it, and I hope you find it insightful, exciting, and educational. Before you go, I'd love for you to share with me your favorite piece of music from the Super Mario Galaxy franchise and tell me why. Do you like the chord progression? Does the melody tug at your heartstrings? Does it make you laugh, or does it remind you of your childhood? I'd love to hear from you. In addition, I'd like to give you my guide on how to write music in the style of Super Mario Galaxy and Disney music absolutely free. Not only do we discuss specific compositional techniques that these composers use, but we take specific examples and dissect exactly what's going on behind the scenes. Just click the link in the description to access the guide. Finally, if you'd like to download my transcriptions for your own study, please feel free to do so by clicking the second link in the description box. Thank you again so much for coming along this journey with me, and until next time, take care.